Well, fellas, it is here. The new dungeon for Heresy, Sundered Doctrine, has arrived. Today, we're going to be going over each one of these encounters and how they work mechanically. We'll also talk about some loadouts and pretty much just touch upon the things that worked well for us in contests, which means it should absolutely shred in the normal version of this dungeon. We're also going to touch upon some of the jump puzzles, because yes, those are actually kind of confusing. No lie, you could get lost in some of these traversal areas. So we'll touch on that as well. And for my solo players, we'll be probably throwing together a guide, maybe in the next few days or so. We'll do our solo run, and after that, we'll crank out a guide just for solo players, for those of you trying to lock in that solo run. With all that being said though, let's begin. Now, before you begin this dungeon, guys, you want to go to Core Array and pick up the quest, the Drowning Labyrinth. Essentially, this is the quest line to onboard you with the narrative of this dungeon. Essentially, we are going in there to deal with a party of dread who have infiltrated the ruins of Rourke's pyramid ship. After that, guys, you can now load up into the dungeon right here on the minimap, which takes us to the first area that you load in. Now, for my lore people out there, you definitely want to crank up that dialogue up, throw on the subtitles, because Savithic herself is going to be giving us a greeting. Now, while you're taking in the lore, you're going to want to head down to the left of spawn and then follow the path that you're seeing on the screen now. Essentially, though, you're going to reach this big door. You're going to take another left and you're going to jump up to this ledge where you see the water coming down from it. Then you're going to take a right, drop down, and then start making your way to the first encounter. And this area is pretty fairly standard for traversal sections, but I will say some of these traversal sections are really easy to get lost in. And on contest mode, the enemies here are actually pretty tough. Normal mode, you should be just fine though. To take them out, and you're going to want to be looking for this door that you see right here. Now, you'll know you made it to the right spot whenever your ghost icon lights up in the top right corner, indicating that you're near. You'll just hop on through here and then follow the path until you reach this next area with more ads to take out. And upon dealing with them and the subjugator, you want to just keep heading straight until you find this small waterfall. That's right, guys. Bungie put a path under a waterfall. You're going to slide on through, and now you'll find yourself at the first encounter. Now, immediately upon entering this room, you're going to be greeted by this light, which when you stand in it, it will hurt you. Matter of fact, it'll kill you. So don't stand in it alone. Now, like everything else in Destiny, these encounters always build on itself. So what you're going to see here will continue to be something you build on throughout this entire dungeon. Now, as you make your way up to where the rally flag is, you will see 3 more of these lenses, which is actually the trophy for the day 1 players, which many of us thought were high vis. No, they're actually lenses. Now, these 3 lenses have switches placed above them. Then you'll notice located on the front wall are 3 symbols. Now, there are 4 rooms in total. Each will have a pack of enemies with a strand or stasis subjugator, followed by a wheel on the wall with symbols on it. Now, I know most of you probably know what these symbols are. To be honest with you guys, I am awful about remembering these symbols. However, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to put this on your screen right now. These are the symbols that have been with us since Vow of the Disciple, and these are also their proper names. I know, at one time I used to think Give was Jazz Hands, but it got too confusing and it takes too long to say. It's Give. And amongst Destiny players, this is pretty much the proper nomenclature for these symbols. What's even more convenient is that Bungie even has this room behind the main room. You can actually go there in game and see all the symbols with the proper callouts. Now, what this entire encounter is going to boil down to is you using these lenses to bounce light off of each other. And what you're trying to do is line up the wheels with the correct symbols. Now, how do we go about doing that? Well, in addition to enemies in each of the rooms that are spawning in, there's also a chance that there will be a Grim that will spawn in, which actually has a name called Truth Seeker. Upon killing this Grim, they will drop a symbol, which will indicate where you need to direct the light towards. For example, if you kill a Grim and they drop the Traveler symbol, you and your fire team will have to find the room with the wheel that has the Traveler symbol. Then you need to proceed to direct the light towards that room, which is why I recommend for fire teams to split up. Have one person take a room. You've got 2 on the left, 2 on the right, and we actually label them. We've got like L1, which is the first room there on the left, with L2 being the second room above it. And the same with the right, R1 and R2. And the way we would split things up is 2 people would go to the left, and I would just go to the right and shift between both of those rooms. And you actually have these little cubbies and holes that connect these rooms, so you can run back and forth between them without having to run all the way back to the middle and loop around to get to that other room. So again, you kill the Grim to drop a symbol. That symbol will then indicate which room you need to direct the light towards, but you'll probably notice that when you actually start to shift and rotate the lights, that all of these podiums are empty. And that's because you got to kill these subjugators in these rooms, who upon defeating will drop lenses, hence why their names are called lens bearers. Now, you can only hold one of these lenses at a time, but you essentially just want to kill the subjugators, pick up the lens, and then you want to hop up on the podium, and you know you're in the right spot when it says place. You see, if you're standing on the ground just right next to it, it will just give you the option to rotate. So make sure you hop up on the ledge, see the prompt top that says place, and now you can place the lens. Now be very careful where you do place the lens, guys, because you can't pull them out. Once it's in, it is in, which means in order to get another lens, you will have to kill yet another subjugator in order to continue moving the light in the right direction. Now all of the light comes from this middle area where the rally flag is, and if you shoot above any of these lenses, that lens will then emit a light that can bounce off all of the other lenses that it comes into contact with. So really it's best just to determine which one of these 3 switches that you'll need to activate. For example, with this one, we need to turn the lens so that it faces this direction and essentially can reflect off of here. You want to keep an eye out because some of the lenses that are required will actually be inaccessible to you as they are locked behind gates and walls. These are ones that you cannot actually move. However, you can still use them, and they're actually part of the solution 9 times out of 10 in order to get the light where you need it to go. Now, once you've actually directed the light at the correct wheel, you'll actually see a text that pops up that states a wheel hums to life, indicating that you've done this mechanic correctly. You'll also see that it says that the pyramid accepts the truth. On top of that, your timer will actually go up. Now, the second phase of this first encounter will actually have you doing 2 rooms. So this time around, you're going to kill a Grim. You're going to find which wheel it is that you need to direct a light. You're going to continue doing the same thing where you go to the middle, push the light to the right location, pick up lenses that you get from killing subjugators. Then after getting that first wheel, you'll need to locate the next Grim Truth Seeker to eliminate to show you the next wheel that you need to direct the light towards. You get the same prompts indicating that you've done it correctly. And then the third part of this first encounter is now doing it for 3 rooms. So essentially just running the same thing over again. And that's it, guys. You'll do those 3 final rooms, and now you've just beaten the first encounter of Sundered Doctrine. Now to this, guys, you're gonna have a traversal section. I'm gonna let you follow this on the screen. I will say this area is easy to get lost in. Before you go too far though, there is a secret chest in this area. And as you're just tinkering around and traversing this section before you move on, you'll probably see these little nodes, these little darkness nodes that you could shoot. And when you shoot all 3 in this area, it will actually unlock you a chest right here. There's a little bit of extra loot, guys, if you want to tag that. But as far as the traversal goes, I'll let this carry on. Now here in this area, you're gonna see that there's this big giant ball that falls towards you into a pit. In order to avoid it, guys, you just wanna hit up these cutouts in the walls, just going back and forth, dodging the ball along the way. Now, I will say for solo players, this one is gonna wipe a few runs. I'm a sucker for it, man. I always fall for the jump puzzles. However, you wanna make your way to this section up here. You'll notice that the ground opens up, which will allow you to drop downwards. Here, you just wanna continue along this new path. Now, after getting through the maze, you'll now get to this room with these 2 wheels with symbols on them. You'll see some arrows in the middle that are spinning, and the objective here is to match the symbols on the door in this room that you're trying to open to these wheels. Now, in order to change the symbol, you need to collect darkness splinters, and you get these by defeating the blistered ogre in this room, which will then get a preceptor wizard to spawn who will drop these darkness splinters and give you a stack of knowledge. Now, these stacks are very important, guys, and they're not labeled numerically. 1 stack will say hiding, 2 stacks will say brimming, and 3 stacks will say overflowing. Remember this, fellas, because what you're learning right here is going to play a pivotal part in the second encounter. Now, when you go up to the wheels, you can now deposit these stacks of knowledge, and depending on how many stacks you have, this will change which symbol is actually highlighted on this wheel. Now, I want you to take in this mechanic right here and right now. Do you see that radio in the middle? Notice that it's rotating clockwise. You can actually change the direction of that radio. You can hit that little node on top, and that shifts the direction in which that radio is rotating. And what that means is that when you go over there and you dunk your knowledge, that will shift the highlighted portion of this wheel, either clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on the direction that it's rotating, and it will shift it 1, 2, or 3 spaces, depending on how many stacks of knowledge you have. So for example, we need Commune as well as Black Garden to be lit up, as that is what is on our door. Then when we go over to one of the wheels, Kill is currently lit up, and we need to move over 2 spots counterclockwise to reach commune. Now the wheel is already spinning counterclockwise, but if it wasn't, we would just shoot that node above it. And now we want to deposit 2 stacks of knowledge, that being brimming knowledge, which would then light up commune. Then moving on over to our other wheel, we're currently on GIF, but we need Black Garden, which is 3 spots clockwise. So we essentially shoot the darkness switch to make sure it's going clockwise if it's not already, and then we deposit our overflowing knowledge, which is our 3 stacks of knowledge, which will now allow us to line up the Black Garden symbol. This mechanic right here is essentially the second encounters mechanic with just more survivability involved. So essentially, find the symbols you need, look at how far away it is from the current symbol that's lit up, shoot the node if necessary to either change clockwise or counterclockwise on the radio, and then deposit your knowledge stacks in order to reach the desired symbol. Now, once you've opened this door, you want to proceed forward until you reach a spot to rally. And you'll notice below the rally flag is this fairly big open room with a platform in the middle and 4 wheels around the room. This is the second encounter and really your first real boss. What you just learned in the previous room will play a role in this room. As you've noticed, there are 4 wheels in this arena, 2 on either side, and they all possess a ton of symbols. The goal here is to activate 4 symbols on these wheels, with the last one always being kill, as that is what activates the DPS phase. Now, you're not necessarily trying to put in a certain code or set of symbols. It's actually that each one of these symbols changes what happens in this room. For instance, as mentioned before, kill, which is this icon right here, actually starts the DPS phase. The stop symbol, though, will actually stop ads from spawning, at least for some period of time. The hive icon will spawn in these yellow bar ogres, and the brain will spawn in knights. Now, there's also a commune symbol here, and I've gotten different mixed answers on this. Half of chat was telling me that commune extends the damage phase. The other half was saying, no, it actually hurts you and spawns in darkness seekers, aka the bees, during damage phase, which makes things harder for you, which sucks because we were literally doing 3 communes for all of this, and I'm pretty sure that was making things more difficult for us. Now, the way this mechanic works is that these 4 shriekers are going to be the shriekers you do damage to. They're like these resonance shriekers, and what they essentially do is they beam this light across the battlefield, whether it's directly at you to do a little damage, but they'll also beam the light directly at a wheel, and then it will shine the light at this blank icon space right next to it. And depending on what you have selected on the wheel, that icon is what actually shows up, thus activating whatever it is that symbol is affiliated with. Now, you're going to want to activate these from right to left, the rightmost wheel to the leftmost wheel. And you'll notice that these 4 plates around the arena, they'll line up when it's their turn for the corresponding shrieker to look at its symbol and then lock it in. For example, we go to the far right side here, you see the right side wheel, and we decide to put in stop so that our ads could stop spawning. You essentially kill the enemies, wait for the wizards to start spawning, grab the necessary amount of knowledge needed, and then we would deposit it on the switch over there, whether clockwise or counterclockwise, to reach the desired symbol that we need. And after you have this symbol, you just pretty much just leave it there. After some time, the shrieker will look at the wheel, and then it will beam the light over it, and then lock that symbol in on the platform next to it. And you can literally see it right there blown up, which symbol it is that it just locked in. After this, guys, you want to move on to the next wheel, which is actually the 3rd one here, working your way from right all the way to left. Now, you could do stop, 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 and then kill. And what this actually allows you to do is have less ads. However, you can also spawn in an ogre. On contest mode, we were getting damage checked and we needed ammo. So we needed ogres, the Proxena Taff on, and we also needed knights so I can get finishers on with Aeon Gauntlets. However, I do feel like in normal mode, you'll be just fine. Now, once all 4 symbols have been locked in and you have one of them being kill, preferably the one all the way to the left, as that's the 4th and final one that it'll pass over, you'll get the lock set is cracked, and it is now time for damage. Now, you could actually just do damage right here in the middle. On contest mode, we stayed back on the stairs a little bit, but I think on normal mode, you could probably push up if you want to. My favorite weapon to use here, though, guys, and again, we'll experiment a little more with the meta, but Sleeper was really, really good. And I'm not saying that Queensbreaker bow isn't good. Obviously, DPS-wise, Queenbreaker actually outperforms that of Sleeper. The reason why we like Sleeper Simulant, though, is that even though that eye on the Shrieker is pretty large, it is easy to miss. And for like a burst fire linear, there are opportunities for you to miss a shot. And when you miss, that substantially drops your damage. For Sleeper, though, it's really easy to just land that one single shot. And even more so than that is that if you do miss a crit and land, I guess, like a body shot or a base shot on one of these Shriekers, it's not as bad because Sleeper's damage in terms of body shot is the best amongst linears. So it still puts out a pretty good chunk of health. For my folks rocking linears, though, you definitely want to be using the artifact mod particle reconstruction. This literally just tags on an extra 25% more damage for you. As for which Shrieker to attack, it really doesn't matter. We just kind of just focused up on the two on the right. I would say that maybe focusing one together might be better, simply because if you're taking advantage of the new Titan aspect, Storm's Keep, which let me just say, guys, is disgusting. You want to be using Storm's Keep on Titan literally every damage phase. Use that with Spark of Frequency. You'll be expending lots of bolt charges with your weapons, and it makes a big difference for your damage. But that's pretty much it, guys. Do damage, kill the Shriekers. If you don't kill the Shriekers, essentially just rinse and repeat all of those same mechanics, input the symbols, and now you're good to go. Now, some of you may ask, Cross, can you just immediately put in a kill symbol? Say, for instance, the far right, could you just go throw kill in there? Well, you could, and that would, of course, initiate DPS immediately. However, you won't have any of the other symbols in the other three wheels. Again, those are all blank. Not only are they blank, but if they happen to be on the wrong symbol, maybe on Hive or Brain, what that really means is that in the middle of your damage phase, ads will be spawning in left and right all around you, messing up your damage. Let me just say, these guys are annoying to deal with just on their own, much less during DPS phase. The second thing is that I'm pretty sure that if you activate kill immediately on the right there, it does make your DPS phase shorter. So just keep that in mind, guys. Again, better to carry it all the way out. Go for the 3 stops, then hit that kill at the end to make life easier for yourself for a better DPS phase. Upon doing that, guys, you'll get the loot right there in the middle. And this takes us to our next traversal section, which requires us to open this door. Now, to do this, you'll need to shoot one of the 4 Shrieker eyes into this bowl. I know, kind of wild that Bungie actually gave us this mechanic, but that's right, guys. You want to move the eye there, and you can't actually push the eye up over this ledge. You want to bring it back to the middle, and you'll notice like this ramp down to it. You'll do that, and you'll push the eye directly into the bowl, which will then open the door, allowing you to progress further. This is yet another traversal section, guys. Just follow us here on the screen to reach the next encounter. Now, upon reaching this area, you'll have 2 more wheels with symbols that you need to line up. Now, these should be worm and enter. I don't think they change. Pretty sure it's the same for everybody. But the objective here is to match each symbol to each other. For example, the light source with the worm symbol needs to reach the wheel with that same symbol. Now, once you do that for both symbols, the door will open, allowing you to progress. But before you can actually get to the final boss, one part we got stuck on for a second was where to go once you reach this room. For this, you need to shoot this glowing door, which will cause it to open. And be mindful though, because this door will close quickly after shooting it. And surprisingly, it's actually damage based. So using things like a special weapon or even a heavy weapon will open the door up and keep it open for longer. Now, once this door is open, you can then proceed along the path to the final encounter, which takes us here to Kareth the Erase. The guy we saw in the trailer. Turns out, he's actually probably the easiest part of this entire dungeon. I don't know, to me he is. The mechanics here, guys, are extremely straightforward. I'm gonna pop up a map though on your screen real quick, just so that you can see what we're working with. This will be our guide throughout this entire encounter. Now, when you spawn in and where you rally, this is your location here on the map, essentially facing towards the boss. You'll notice located directly behind the boss is another one of those wheels, except this particular wheel is not lit up yet, and you're not going to be changing the symbols on the wheel itself. Instead, what you're going to be doing is choosing the correct pattern based on those symbols that light up once the encounter begins. Now, there are actually 3 different rooms in this encounter. Really 4, but I'm gonna say 3. There's a room on the left, and the only way you can get to that room is by shooting this door, similar to the mechanic you just saw earlier, where the door opens when you do damage to it. Inside of this room will be these symbols here. You'll notice the Witness, Hive, Guardian, Traveler. You've got Garden, or whatever people call it. I call it Triangle, whatever. And the middle room, where you start out at, you have Worship, which is right there on the left. Kill, which is right there on the right, with Drink being that symbol on the far right of this room. room. Now, underneath where the boss was when you first came into this room are actually stairs that go down. And inside of this area, you have the stop symbol and the give symbol. Now, how do we get to the right room? This is the room that when facing the boss, you go directly right to get to it. You actually want to jump up to this area right here. And there's this little ramp down that you can go through, which will then give you access to this room, which contains light, dark, the Witch Queen logo, and worm. Now, the purpose of these symbols is to correlate with that wheel in the middle there that lights up when this encounter starts. And your job is to select which ones should be turned on, which ones should be turned off. Now, fellas, this is a very easy mechanic. All you want to do, and I know I'm going to sound ridiculous right now, but all you want to do is pull out your phone and at the beginning of the encounter, clear out some of the ads. Then you want to run up there to the wheel and take a picture. Now, I know that sounds crazy. Cross, why are we taking a picture? I want you to just look at the picture that you see here in front of you. I snapped this with my old ass iPhone. It's good enough. When looking at this radio though, you want to split it literally in half from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. The idea is to have the three symbols on the left be lit up or the three symbols on the right be lit up. It can only be one or the other. Now, how do we know which one of these to line up? Well, after snapping the picture and clearing out some of the ads in the middle, we found it easier to go directly to the right room. The room that contains worm and the Witch Queen logo, line dark. We clear out the ads in that room and we look for the Truth Keeper. This is that same Grim that you saw earlier in that first encounter. Now, if the Truth Keeper is not in this right room, you simply just want to go back to the middle room and then go to the left room, the room that has Guardian, Hive, the Witness, the Traveler. It doesn't really matter which room the Truth Keeper is in. You just gotta find them and kill them, because when you kill them, a symbol will spawn underneath where they were killed, and that symbol will correlate which symbols need to be lit up and which symbols need to be turned off. For instance, in my run with Basic and Noah, Traveler was dropped by the Truth Keeper, and if I split this radio directly in half from 12 to 6 o'clock, the rule for this is that whatever symbol the Truth Keeper drops, the side that it is on, those symbols must be turned off, and then the symbols on the opposite side must be turned on. So for example, Guardian and Give must be turned off, and Witness must be turned on, because Kill and Garden/Black Triangle is already lit up as well. So those symbols are good. So how do we turn these symbols off and how do we turn them on? Well, first is getting to the location that these symbols are in. So for the example that I'm giving you, we needed to turn off Give and we needed to turn off Guardian. At the same time, we needed to turn on the Witness, which is great because both Guardian and the Witness exist in the left room. So we proceed to go to the left room, and you'll notice there'll be a ton of different enemies that are in this room, from a Subjugator to Husk. Kill those ants, they're whatever. The ad that you want to be looking for are these unwritten attendants. When you kill these unwritten attendants, directly at the top of your screen, you will get a buff called Unwritten Empowerment. This buff allows you to break these strand locks that are actually locking these lenses in, which is why you're not allowed to rotate these lenses yet. Now, be very careful when you're actually breaking these strand locks, because threadlings will release, and let me just say, they do a hell of a lot more damage than they do in PvP. Now, you want to move and rotate these lenses to the correct location. For instance, if I'm looking to turn off Guardian, I need to rotate the lens here directly to the right of me when I enter the room to Guardian, which is normally as easy as like breaking those strand locks and then just interacting there, hitting rotate, and then it hits Guardian. And you know you're on the right spot because the bottom left hand of your corner will say the pyramid responds to a command, indicating that, hey, you're doing something right. Now, the Witness is also in this room, and we have to turn on the Witness. However, the Witness is a little more trickier because there's actually a little pillar over here that when you shoot it, it essentially just unblocks the light. So whether or not you're needing to block it or unblock it, in this case, we need to unblock it. We shoot it, it lifts up, and now the Witness is properly lit up. Now, this leaves us just one symbol to deal with, that being the Give symbol. This symbol, when you go back to the middle of the room, you go down the stairs. Again, you kill that same ad to get that Unwritten Empowerment buff. You want to break the strand locks there, kill the threadlings before they kill you, and then rotate the light to Give. And what that means is that now, when you go back to that radio, that wheel in the middle room, you'll notice that the three symbols on the left are not lit up at all, but the three symbols on the right are all lit up. Again, guys, this changes depending on what it is that the Truth Keeper drops when you kill it. So for instance, if it had dropped the Witness, then that means that the Witness, Kill, and Black Triangle needs to be turned off, but everything on the left would need to be turned on. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's that mechanic in a nutshell, at least when it comes to getting the right symbols that you need selected. Upon getting the right symbols, though, you want to run to that middle pillar pillar, you want to hit the activation button, and this will begin DPS phase. Now, before DPS actually begins, the whole room is going to burn, which means you will burn if you're not hiding behind one of the pillars. Now, essentially what's happening is that the room is burning the shield off of Karif here, and upon him running out of shield, you can then begin doing DPS. Now, you can do DPS wherever you want. We literally just jump right out there to the middle because he does move around quite a bit. A single well does really good. I drop my barricade with Storm's Keep, which tags on a lot of damage. Some of the weapons that do really good here is Queenbreaker's bow with the divinity. Having one person rock div and the other two rock Queenbreaker's bow is so good, and I do think that divinity is kind of a must-have simply because he does yoink you around a bunch because of the strand powers that he has, and so having a big crit spot to hit is really helpful. Throw on a couple damage supers and you'll two-face this guy very easily. And we're gonna mess around over the next few days. I actually want to try like swords on him, maybe even some glaives, but linears, especially this season, are really good. Queenbreakers especially was top-notch, and I was even using the new raid exotic, which we have a review on if you want to check it out, guys, and it puts out some pretty good damage. And this isn't even its final form. We don't even have the exotic catalyst yet. Now, after you do damage to the boss, he will initiate another burn effect, so you do need to hide behind the pillars yet again. However, you can actually continue doing damage to him, literally standing behind one of the pillars. Stand behind it, continue doing damage, make sure you don't get burned to death. He can still yoink you with his strand though, but with the right setups, guys, you'll make very quick work of this guy. And I will say, from a contest mode perspective, this encounter to me was way easier than the second encounter. The only hard part was just like the mechanics of figuring out, all right, which one of the right symbols do I need to line up on this radio? And essentially after that, when going into the second phase, you want to clear out some ads, run right back up there to the wheel, take a picture of that wheel so that you see which ones it is that are lit up and which ones are not. Go to the right room, look for the Truth Keeper. If you find it, kill it, see what symbol it drops, and then whichever sign that symbol is on, that's the sign that must be turned off. The opposite sign must be turned on. You'll proceed to go to each area that those symbols are located in, and then make your way back to the middle, activate the plate, and do damage. That's it, fellas. That is your raid guide for Sundered Doctrine. If you're interested in the exotic, we already did a live review of it. Feel free to check it out, guys. It's a pretty unique weapon. It's a guaranteed drop for those of you that do the dungeon on contest mode, but if you're looking to just do this dungeon on normal mode, RNG is a fickle thing. However, you do have things like triumphs, where as you begin to do certain achievements, this will increase the RNG drop chances of this exotic. So definitely check those out, guys. Whether it's doing the solo run, even a solo flawless run, these things really help mitigate the drop chances here. As far as the exotic catalyst goes for the exotic though, I'm still looking into that, guys. There's a lot of different secrets here that we haven't run through yet, and we'll probably have a follow-up guide to this one detailing everything around hidden chests, hidden secrets, lore, and the exotic catalyst. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.